Hey guys, Pam here. I'm about to head into town, but I wanted to take a second and talk about yesterday. I don't think I've talked very much about COVID and the vaccine and things that are going on with the pandemic. My mind has just been mainly focused on the van, the build, the freedom, the hope, getting out of here. That's the push. But I've learned some things lately that's just been on my mind and kind of driving me buggy. Number one is Canada. Like they have just locked them down. I feel bad for, they're still in their areas and they're going to work and going to restaurants. They're still doing their thing within their limits, but they can't leave. It's kind of like if the government was to say, I don't know what state you live in, but say it was to come out and say, okay, come Friday, whatever state you're in on Friday morning at 8 o'clock, you're stuck there. You're never leaving. Like, that's where you're going to stay until we say otherwise. And I know a lot of the Canadians don't mind it. They're like, well, I wanted to travel this summer and whatever, and I can't now. But they don't seem to be too distressed about it, which is great. But it kind of freaked me out because I thought if I'm out on the road and I don't have this news because I've been, on the old farm roads and up in a mountain or, camping on the side of a river in the bottom somewhere for 2 weeks, I'm not going to know these things. I'm not going to have any of that information until I get to a city or Wi-Fi or come out and sit somewhere with my phone for a while and catch up. So the second reason I started about thinking hard about the vaccine was India. India's having a hell of a time. Like they're just being wiped out over there. I feel bad for them. But I just started thinking about the pandemic when it first started. Like we didn't have it here. And then all of a sudden it was here and it was bad. And shit went sideways. And I'm like, if that were to happen again, I'm not vaccinated. Like, I know they don't know for sure what the vaccine would do for the variants or whatever, but again, I just feel like better safe than sorry. Plus, I've been kind of worried about not knowing if there's a lockdown or anything like what Canada's done because of what's happening the way it is in India. Like, I'm not going to know if the state that I'm driving toward has just had a huge influx of cases and everybody's being warned to stay out. I'm not going to know that. If I'm coming off the top of a mountain and I'm driving straight in there for supplies, I'm not going to have any idea. So I just decided, again, better safe than sorry. So yesterday morning, I went and got my first COVID vaccine shot. And you have to sit around for a little while and wait for them to kind of keep an eye on you for like 15 minutes or so. It's not a big deal. And I was reading the posters on the wall, and it was saying that you would have soreness at the site, and that you'd probably run fever and have headaches. And so I started thinking, if you remember the last video, I made a mad dash over close to New Orleans, Louisiana, to put mileage on this thing, to have it retested for the oil consumption recall. And I just started thinking, if I'm going to be home not feeling good for several days, I know because tomorrow I do have an appointment I have to go into town for, which is 60-mile round trip. And then one day this weekend, I also have to go into town for something, which is another 60-mile round trip. And it's like, I'm going to overrun the mileage. I'm going to overshoot it like we did last month. And I'm going to have to take it back, let them reset it, and do it again. I don't want to do that. So as I'm waiting on my 15 minutes for the little girl to cut me loose, my mind was made up that as soon as she let me go, I was going straight to the dealership. It's about 100 miles, and I'm just going to go and have them do the retest and see what we're going to do about the van. So I did that. They come out and they checked it. The head mechanic and one of his guys, they were both under the hood, and I come out the little side door, and you know me, I'm like, okay, what's happening? We putting an engine in this thing, or, and he said he's right at it. And I'm like, what does that mean? It's right at it. Does that mean it's almost needing a new engine, which means I get to screw around with putting oil in it every week for the rest of my days? Or is it right at it that, yes, it's hit the number that we need to put the engine in it? Like, I didn't know what that meant exactly. And I just made a joke about all the rigmarole that we've been through with the mileage and getting this thing tested and whatnot, that they should just throw an engine in just because of the bull-ish that we've been through, you know? And he just kind of looked at me and said, I agree. So, the van's getting a new engine. I'm excited about it, but I'm kind of sad about it. I'm so anxious to get out on the road. I was like, I don't want to wait for them to have to order an engine and then ever how long it's going to take to put it in. It's just going to push me back getting on the road. I really don't want to do it. But then that other little voice in my head is like, but I bought it with 100,000 miles on it. Like, a new engine would be perfect. Like, I'm going to hit the road and the only mileage that's going to be on it is from the dealership to my house to pack it up. Like, that's it. It's going to hit the road with 0 miles. And I know in the long run that decision is going to make me feel better. Like, my paranoia is going to come down. Like, I've pretty much bought a brand new car. Or I bought a used car with a brand new engine. You know, it's just kind of bittersweet. Like, I'm glad to get the new engine because I'm going to be starting out in a vehicle with 0 miles on it. But it's going to push me a couple of months back, which depresses me some because I'm so anxious to get going. So I'm going to slow down on the build. If you've noticed, I've taken the bed frame and everything out of here. Mainly because I didn't know if they were going to keep the thing today or not, or yesterday or not. I wasn't sure how that was going to go exactly. But I talked to the guy. Could I still go ahead and kind of do my thing? And he's like, yeah, sure, no problem. So I'm going to work on the build. I'm going to put in the cabinets to the side and kind of set up where the sink's going to be. But I'm not going to, when they call that the engines come in, I'm not taking this thing with anything in it other than framework. I know I'm going to put my water jugs and my sink and everything in here so I can line it up and measure it where it needs to go and test it and make sure everything's working. But when I go to turn this in for the new engine, I'm taking all that out. I'm not leaving anything in here. I'm not saying that the dealership would steal anything that I have, but I just don't want to risk. I've put too much time and money and effort, and I just don't want to risk something getting misplaced because they opened that side door and a $15 water bucket fell out and they just chunked it over to the side out of the way and it got forgotten. I'm just not going to risk it. Like right now, I've got a $100 battery in the floor. I don't know if you remember, I bought this deep cycle battery to start the solar, which will be the next video because I've got to hook that up to make sure it works before my Amazon return time is up, just in case. But I have that battery in here, and I left it in here because it's so damn heavy I can't get it out. So I have a lot to do, and I kind of thought about the engine issue because I didn't want to wait for one. I was in such a hurry to get on the road. But because I decided to do the vaccine, I can't take the second one for a month anyway. So it's like, okay, well, I'm going to wait a month for this last shot. Why not wait on an engine? Like, let it all come together. And hopefully they'll call me in a week or two that the engine's there. I'll go turn the car in. And then by the time I get my shot, maybe they'll be, say, halfway through or whatnot. And I'll be getting the vehicle back shortly after that. And just get going. Don't know exactly how that's going to work. I'm excited about it though, believe it or not. It's bittersweet. The new engine's going to be fantastic. I went from a used vehicle with 100,000 miles to a used vehicle with 0 miles. And it's in great shape. It's got a little ding here and there, but for the price that I got it for, I'm just happy about it all around, and I wanted to share that with you guys because I know I had talked about this recall in several videos, And then I made that trip and back to put the mileage on there that we needed for that. And I just wanted you to know the outcome, that yes, it failed its recall test and we're getting a new engine. And I got to make some curtains. I got to do some reflectics for the back and do whatever I'm going to end up doing up here. I'm still afraid of these. Am I pointing the right spot? The airbag situation has got to be dealt with. I've either got to cover it up, cut some plywood and cover it up, or just pull the original plastic pieces that I took off and get them back in here. That hurt. Whew. So if you guys are still watching, I appreciate you. You have no idea. It really means a lot that you're coming along on my journey. And sorry this video was short. It was just a quick update of what's going on. And we're getting a new engine. I'm excited.